Former Speaker of House of Representatives Dogara don ask northern governors why dem dey against the Tinubu tax reform bill. Dogara dey ask dis thing because according to am the tax reform bill na welcome development wey go bring stability to the country, wey go make states and their leaders dey productive, wey go make dem dey look inward to make sure say their economy, their state economy dey revamped.
First of all, I will start my intervention by thanking Mr. Sheun for inviting me to participate in this town hall. Before now, I thought that we have flurry of experts, both in leadership positions and in the National Assembly, so issues of taxation shouldn't be this complex and obfuscating, to a point where we will be stuck in a binge-watching rut that we're presently under. So when I got that invitation, I did tell him, I'm not going to participate. I need to see the bills myself, because I want to be 100% convinced of what I will say. So they quickly dispatched the bills to me, and I have them there. I have studied these bills, the two most important bills. The other two are establishment bills. And I don't intend to speak to the details because we have heard from Mr. Taiwo, who chaired the committee that produced this wonderful piece of legislation that's before the National Assembly. I've been in the National Assembly for 16 years. And I must say that I've seen very few bills that can be compared to the bills they produce in terms of quality, the originality of thought, and in terms of effect that we will have on our larger economic ecosystem. Having done that, I still, as a representative that I am, I thought that it's not even good enough for me to just come here and present my opinion. So I summoned some of my brothers, leaders in their own right, across all sectors, most of them, almost all of them northerners like me, to say, come, let's look at this thing dispassionately. What is the problem? What are people complaining about? And honestly speaking, I don't begrudge noise in a democracy. As a matter of fact, the more noise your democracy generates, the more functional it is. The only problem is if you allow the noise to degenerate into violence, that is where you have a problem. And then we sit down and look at some of these major objections that are coming from across some of our leaders in the north and some of our brothers. So I won't say I'm an expert. I'm here as a student. I want to learn. But because I've studied this, nothing precludes me from saying my opinion. As a matter of fact, the moment they announced, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, that I'll be participating in this discussion, my phone almost broke. So many pleaded with me. That was why I knew how important this is. Some were even pleading with me not to even show up. I said, no, but that's not leadership. Even if I disagree, I should go there and tell them that I disagree. So let's look at some of these objections that have been raised. I will address the question of leadership. And my appeal to all of us here, we are all leaders. We should remove the cap of regionalism, the cap of sectionalism, cap of religion, and put on the cap of leadership. Because that is what will resolve the current problems that we have. I think one of the major objections relates to the issue of timing. I've had this even from leaders that I respect. But in leadership, when you talk about timing, the way I have heard them talk about is a tragic misconception of the notion of time itself. Because there's nothing like future, there's nothing like the past. All we have is now, now, now. It is what you're doing now that will become your past. It is what you're doing now that will affect your future. It was Dr. King who told us that time is neutral. And without creative use of time, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. So the answer he gave was to say that the time is always ripe to do right. So the question before us as leaders is not to look at what the president is doing, what our leader here, Taiwan's committee have produced. I don't even care if it was part of the president's agenda. All I am bothered with as a leader is it the right thing? Then if we come to the conclusion that it is the right thing for us to do, then the time to do it is now, not tomorrow. So I will resolve that issue the way I have resolved it. Secondly, I've heard about insufficient consultation. I've heard even legislators speaking as if they are spokesperson for some governors' forum or some others, instead of looking at what is right and providing solutions. Now, I don't know, he didn't address some of these issues, but I believe in the course of our interface, he will address them, whether there was enough consultation with the governors. But I want to say this, at the state level, how many people do governors consult when they are making laws? I'm not challenging them. As a matter of fact, in some cases, laws, state laws, are written from the living rooms of governors. But the truth is, we were warned long ago by Shakespeare in his famous work, Pericles, the Prince of Tyre. He said, few are those who like to hear about the sin they love to act. So, should we now stop because governors have not been brought on board, even though it is the right thing to do? Should that be an excuse, really? The answer to my mind is no. Then they talk about popularity. Oh, the bill is not popular. I want to tell this audience that what has defined us as humans, what has given us superiority as humans, most of them were not popular. Talk about the discovery of controlled fire from Homo erectus. That is what distinguishes us as human and conferred on us superiority over all other creations. But before the discovery of fire, human being was number 6 on the food chain. If you had made an elephant, not an elephant, a lion with a prey, would you dare go near it? So chances were that before fire was discovered, when a lion kills its prey, it will let go. Even hyenas will come and eat. Jackals will come and feed on them. As a human being, if you had rolled across baboons, you will run away. But it was fire that gave us the power to scare them away. Everything that we have here is on account of controlled fire. That is what conferred on us superiority. But if you go back to history, student of history will tell you that the idea itself of fire wasn't popular. That is the point I'm driving at. In mythology, it was said it was even one of the gods that rebelled against the Olympian gods and handed fire to man. It was out of rebellion. But now we exercise dominion based on that. Look at J.F. Kennedy, for instance. The idea to land the man on the moon wasn't popular in the US. If I was born and had listened to people like my hero, Martin Luther King Jr., I would have opposed it. Because he clearly told him, why bother spending $20 billion sending the man to the moon while you can use this money to put God's creation, man, on his 2 feet? These were moral arguments. But if JFK were alive today, to see what that 20 billion he invested in putting man on the moon has done for us. Even some of these communications, some people are using internet, is on account of the satellites that are there. But it wasn't a popular decision. Time will fail me to mention about Galileo, for instance. He died in detention for proposing that the earth was round, as against the church's teaching then that the earth was flat. But until much later, even after his death, that they discovered that he was actually right. So leaders that will make impact bother about doing what is right. If it is popular, excellent. If it is not popular, just do what is right. I move to the third objection. They have spoken about increment in VAT. I believe we will be challenged about that. Well, I don't want to say that Taiwo is perfect. I don't want to say that the president who has transmitted this bill to the National Assembly is perfect. Because perfection is an attribute of God. And no human being was ever built to receive worship. Once you begin to ascribe perfection to a human being, you are setting him up for destruction. So I agree that as lofty as the ideals are, as wonderful as the provisions of these bills are, the way he has illuminated them here, there may still be problems. There may still be problems with the bill. And of course, some have pointed it out. They don't want VAT to be raised progressively to 15%. That, of course, can be discussed. If we put on the cap of leadership, we can discuss that. It shouldn't be that because of that, the bill cannot pass. Well, they have talked about the distribution formula, which is the major thing orchestrating all the cries, especially in our region here in the north. I'm a northerner. As long as you are attributing this to the locations where these goods are consumed, and not where the headquarters of the companies producing these goods are located, I'm 100% for it. You know why? Because whether we like it or not, the discussion about economic justice will not end today. So we as Northerners, we should better embrace this opportunity to create wealth, to build our people so that we can generate wealth and ensure prosperity for our people. I know that it is difficult, but it was what John Hunchman Sr. reminded us. The humans have seldom created anything of lasting value if they were not tired or hurting. So if this will get us tired as Northerners to begin to do something else and not look up onto government, if this thing can get us hurting to begin to look inwards so that we can generate wealth. After all, our fathers did it. The granite pyramids, the cotton ginneries, the multiplicity of cows, herds of cows that we have.
All right.
At a point, federal government was even borrowing money from northern region. Why can't we repeat this? And lastly, there are so many other issues. So they have said, okay, the word derivation is not defined in the Act. I said, okay, if that's the case, you have a legitimate argument. Let's define it. But it shouldn't stop work on these bills before the National Assembly. And lastly, I want to talk to my brothers in the North. I don't think this is the time for us to begin to condemn the president and to begin to say that on account of these bills is anti-North. Because I want to remind us that the president has done something that is significant. And in my lifetime, if he can pursue this to the end, it will be that there's no northern leader of my lifetime that has done what the president has done for the North. And I will tell you, it's the creation of the livestock ministry. This is the global business around that. The global market size of dairies, of beef, in the next 3 years will rise to about $2.5 trillion. You can Google it. So if in the North we're able to organize ourselves in such a way that we can corner just 5% of this global market size of dairies and beef, I tell you, that gives us $250 billion. We don't need VAT from any state in Nigeria to survive. The North can survive for this one. We are the most endowed part of Nigeria. And don't joke about it. If you doubt, find out from Australia how much they are raking from just mining minerals. There's gold everywhere in the North. We have all the resources. We can survive. Thank you, and God bless you.
Very lively. They ask state governors now, why did they against the bill? It is nice that some prominent politicians in the northern states are supporting this bill. Many have said this bill is a welcome development, as it will reignite the economic life of several states across the nation, not just from the northern region. Some state governors are sleepy governors. All they know is when month ends, they collect allocation from Abuja, share and pay salaries. They don't want to look inward and see how they can revamp the economic life of their various states. This tax bill, I think, is timely, and the president needs to be commended for initiating this tax reforms bill. It's a welcome development and it must be supported. You understand?